Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr. This is your home for Houston Astros fan coverage this season. If you are a die-hard Houston Astros fan, welcome back. We're happy to have you. We're getting ready here on a Friday afternoon here in studio in Los Angeles. We are getting ready for a Jake Bloss day. The Houston Astros are sending Jake Bloss up to pitch today in Minute Maid Park. But yeah, I'm joined here in studio in Los Angeles by my co-host and my producer, Carla the dog. Carla the dog is here, and she has been quite vocal today, so I do apologize if she has some things to say. I don't put her on mic, but sometimes she just has to get her opinion out there. So we're happy for her. The neighbor is definitely making some noise outside. So yeah, might be a Carla day. She might have some opinions to share today, folks. Just giving you a heads up there. And yeah, while I am in Los Angeles, I am a Houston native, folks. There's no doubt about that. I've been following the Houston Astros since the late 80s, early 90s, depending on, arguably when you can start actually paying attention. But, I was a child, an infant, a toddler. I was a zygote following the Houston Astros, folks. I've been around for a while now. And yeah, I'm just a huge Astros fan, and I've been living out in Los Angeles for the last decade plus. I'm an entertainment professional, as they say. I am a joke writer and comedy writer, improviser, silly goose that now has a sports podcast, because you got to be on your hustle and on your grind nowadays, folks. You can't just be one thing. You have to be a million things. So that's what this podcast is about in a nutshell. Maybe said the quiet part out loud there a bit, but welcome back, folks. We're very happy to have you back on the podcast. If you do want to check out the podcast, the video podcast, the memes, the articles that I write, everything Space Cadet Sports related, you can go to the Substack. That's at spacecadetsports.substack.com. Go check that out. You can put your email in that little field there, and you'll get all of the memes, all of the podcasts, video podcasts, and articles emailed directly to you for free. That's pretty cool. I like that. I also I like that because you're supporting me. Just to be clear. But what I do like, I'm trying to say, is I like the app version of it as well. That's actually what I use for my Substack readings. Personally, myself, you get the Substack app, and you can turn off those email notifications if you prefer using your phone. You'll get phone notifications instead of email notifications for every meme, article, podcast, and video podcast from Space Cadet Sports via the Substack app. You can just check that out, folks. And yeah, let's just get to baseball here. The Houston Astros are coming off of 6 games against some of the worst, or some of the mediocre and worst some mediocre and some of the worst baseball in sports right now in the American League, and they merely won the series. They did not sweep the Tigers or the White Sox, and that is enough for a cause for alarm for a lot of Houston Astros fans, but not me. Fret not, folks. This is where you go for your cool to mild takes when it comes to reactionary take society here that we live in. I like to maybe take a moment, take a pause. Maybe, I do get angry when we lose games. I do get frustrated, especially when the record is what the record is. The Astros are 35-40, so that's not exactly where I want to be. So every loss hurts just a bit, but I try not to be too reactionary, mainly because first and foremost, this is my team. I follow this team and I love this team. It's kind of crazy to choose to opt in to love something just to get angry all the time. That seems like a toxic relationship. So, while I do want this team to win, I try not to fly off the handle all the time. So this is your spot for cool takes, reasonable takes. The Houston Astros, while they did not sweep either team, they did improve on their record. They're 35-40, and while that is not exactly where I want to be, that is good enough for second place in the AL worst this season. The Astros are on a little bit of a winning streak. They're on a 2-game winning streak, I should say. They are closing. I was going to say they're closing the gap on the team from Arlington, but they've surpassed the team from Arlington, who are 34-40 right now. So the Astros, at least temporarily, continue to stay atop the team from Arlington and chase down the Mariners, which is, not where we wanted them to be at the beginning of this season. But, in April, in May, when I started to preach my optimism about where this team could be, this is where I thought they could be. Obviously, in the month of June, you don't want them to be 8 games behind the Mariners. However, that is where they are. So we're hoping that they can keep climbing up the standings here. And the way you do that is by winning series. So while I am a little frustrated they couldn't sweep either one of the teams here, the Tigers or the White Sox, that is ideal. And this team has not been really ideal in any kind of way. They haven't been meeting the expectations that they have set for themselves by playing continually excellent baseball. So while the Astros are a good team, they are not that great of a team, and that is why a lot of Astros fans are frustrated. So if you have not been paying too much attention to the season and you're wondering what's going on with the Astros and why people are saying the golden era is over and they're 35-40, essentially they have set some very high expectations for themselves and they have not lived up to it. But there's been a lot of things going on. So while we look back at the Chicago White Sox series, it was good to see Maldonado back. It was tough. The Astros lost the first game with a shutout 0-2, but were able to bounce back, winning the next 2 games against Chicago with a little bit of a resurgence from their offense. On the third day back yesterday, definitely led by Yordan Alvarez, who is back from his personal leave stint. It was tough. Everybody is. These people are human, I know a lot of people have been like, oh, we can't lose Alvarez right now. What's going on? It's personal. That's what it's right there in the title and his excuse. He had to take some personal days, so everybody's human. While we needed some offense, it was tough to be without Alvarez in that shutout game for sure, especially seeing that Tucker is not back from his IL stint. And, because the injuries just keep mounting here with the Houston Astros. Victor Caratini is on the IL with a left hip injury, and Joey Loperfido has been called up to the club. And since we last talked as well, Cooper Hummel has been added to the team. So we have a lot of new little additions to the team, as well as Cesar Salazar, who, shout out to me primo, Cesar Salazar. He was big during the Chicago White Sox series. He caught some, and he came up with some big RBIs that led to some team success there. He even won Player of the Game. The Houston Astros, if you don't know, while they might not have the in-dugout celebrations like the Trident or the stack of pizzas or, what cowboy hat that the Angels were using last season, while they might not have an in-dugout celebration, behind closed doors, the Astros players have been celebrating their successes by handing out a wrestling belt. You get a player of the game and a pitcher of the game. And apparently Cesar Salazar won that belt in that second game against the White Sox there. I believe Hunter Brown won the pitcher of the game belt in that. So they, behind closed doors, they do celebrate. So shout out to me primo, Cesar Salazar, for just really stepping up for the Astros. It's good to get production out of all players. So I think those were some big games for him. Those were some much needed wins for the Astros. So that was great to see. But moving forward here, we are looking ahead to this series with Baltimore. Today, the first game starts in a little bit here. Probably by the time the podcast is out, it might be starting as we speak. But in this game, because of the injuries to the Astros, it seems as if the Astros will never catch any breaks with injuries this season, and so it will be a full team effort, and the Astros front office has decided that the pitcher that they're going to use for this the fifth starter in this. In at this juncture in the season when they are at a must win is minor leaguer Jake Bloss. Jake Bloss has been a bit of a revelation this season. I'm not going to lie, even though I do keep up with the prospects very minimally. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am some kind of prospect expert, because I am not. I do try to keep tabs with the team, but it's a lot when you really start dealing with all the prospects. But even from my limited knowledge, Jake Bloss was a new name for me to learn this season, and it wasn't even a name that I was on my radar during spring training. This is a minor leaguer that was in playing A-ball and has had a really good start to his season, has really been showing promise and showing that he has the stuff for the major league level. He advanced recently to Double-A in Corpus Christi, and now the Astros are having him skip Triple-A and come directly to the major league club and pitch against the Baltimore Orioles that has been an amazing offensive team. Jake Bloss is coming to pitch against them. Now this, I know, people who have been paying attention this season, might be a little worried that this is a Blair Hindley situation. I think this is a little bit more planned than the Blair Hindley situation. When Hindley was called up for that spot start against the Rangers on that eclipse day, that was that really weird energy day. Framber Valdez was scratched early I don't remember exactly what. He was scratched early, and they called up Hindley. Hindley was the fresh arm ready to pitch that day. I believe that the Astros knew in advance that they were going to need a fifth starter, and that the start would fall on the Baltimore Orioles day, and they decided that instead of going back with Hindley, putting Hindley back out there, or I believe J.P. France is injured right now, but out of all the AAA options that they had right now, the best option for this team to combat the Orioles lineup would actually be Jake Bloss, because of his stuff, and because perhaps they don't have tape on him. They don't know him. So it will be a bit of an unknown pitcher going up against a very stout offense. And, sometimes that can work. While a lot of people are worried about this being another Blair Hindley situation, I point to the fact that Blair Hindley wasn't exactly somebody that the Astros front office was really excited about. He wasn't completely in the plans for the Astros this season. And it was who is healthy today type of decision. Whereas Jake Bloss, they had a little bit of time to kind of assess who was available, what the minor league arms were looking like, who was the freshest, who was the sharpest, and they decided to gamble on Jake Bloss. This might be more like the Chicago White Sox first game. Oh my gosh, his name is escaping me right now. Give me 1 second. But the pitcher that Chicago sent out was a bit of an unknown. Jonathan Cannon. Jonathan Cannon almost had a complete game shutout against the Astros. And, it's because sometimes the Astros get these kind of unheralded pitchers. I'm trying to find like a nice way to put it, because not all of them are bad pitchers. They just are newer pitchers, or there's not a lot of tape on them. They're not all just struggling pitchers. But sometimes the Astros can take these unheralded pitchers and kind of make them look more incredible because their approach to the plate can be aggressive at times, and these unheralded pitchers, we don't have a lot of tape on them, and they can kind of get some things by the Astros before they catch on to them, before they catch on to the pitch shapes, before they catch on to what the pitcher likes to do and what they're executing. So that's kind of what the Astros are taking a gamble on for this start today with Jake Bloss. They are taking a gamble on the fact that this young man has major league stuff. He seems to be on fire right now, and the Baltimore Orioles won't have a lot of tape on him. Now, that is a big gamble, but this team is in win mode. A lot of Astros fans have been really critical of the organization for not trying to win games, for not calling Loperfido up and having Loperfido start more games because he was the hot prospect at one juncture in time. Loperfido is back with the club. He is starting today. We will see what Loperfido brings, but the Astros are looking like they are ready to leverage some young talent at this juncture of the season because we are in win now mode. Now, what this talent brings to the club has yet to be seen. So we will see if this gamble pays off for GM Dana Brown and owner Jim Crane. It is a gamble, but the Astros are not exactly where they wanted to be in the standings. They are coming up against the chainsaw of the Baltimore Orioles, and they are gambling right now. And I kind of like it. I don't feel comfortable with Jake Bloss going on the mound, and that's no disrespect to Jake Bloss. I don't know him very well. I don't know his stuff. I know he has a good slider. Perhaps it's a sweeper. I don't even know that. I just know that because I checked him out on Fangraphs. I was looking at his prospect ratings and stuff like that. So I don't know the kid. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to him. He could be the next prospect that we want. Starting for the Astros. He could be the next Hunter Brown, who, if you have not been paying attention lately, Hunter Brown has really rebounded from his pretty tough start this season to be a pretty steady horse coming out of the gate for the Houston Astros. Now, when he is slotted to pitch, I feel pretty comfortable, especially given the fact that Justin Verlander has been injured and Framber Valdez has had some tough starts here and there. Hunter Brown, while he has gotten the most starts this season, like I was saying, he has been the anchor for the starting rotation this season, for better or worse. I feel like he heard that criticism and he's like, it's going to be for better because I am changing this season and making adjustments. So Hunter Brown has been great. Jake Bloss could be the next prospect like Hunter Brown or like Spencer Arrighetti, where he could have the major league stuff and he can figure it out with some with a little bit of coaching up, So I am not trying to be disrespectful to Jake Bloss. I'm just saying it is a little unnerving having to put this young man in this situation and hoping for the best. But that we are taking a gamble today, folks. So we're hoping that the Astros look amazing and look like they're baseball savants, and they knew Jake Bloss was inevitable. So we're rooting on Jake Bloss today, folks. That's for sure. We will see how this big swing for the front office works out. The Orioles have been on a roll, and that kind of is scary. So we will see how that works. Also there has been some movement here that I'm getting from my notifications. So Jake Bloss has been selected to the Major League roster. Joey Loperfido has been recalled from AAA. Carantini placed on a 10-day IL. It looks like the 40-man roster odd man out is going to be Blair Hindley, who has been designated for assignment. So that's who they moved off the 40-man for Jake Bloss to be put on. And Luis Contreras has been optioned to AAA. Right-handed pitcher Luis Contreras, who has been up just very briefly for the Houston Astros. So, now we have Verlander Tucker and Carantini on the 10-day IL, which is not very fun. But those were the corresponding roster moves for the Houston Astros today. So we shall see. Obviously the GM Dana Brown pitching carousel remains in effect. We knew that if the Astros were not going to have healthy starting pitching, they would need a lot of help to help bolster the bullpen. And with two starters being put on the IL and having to have Tommy John surgery, Dana Brown is going to have to rotate some arms and try to find some veteran arms, some quadruple A level talent throughout the league, and bring them in here and there this season. So it looks like Contreras and Blair Hindley are just new sacrifices to the pitching carousel this season. Who knows how many pitchers the Astros will have used at the end of the season this year? What's the over/under? We're gonna say 50 here at the podcast. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Over/under for 50. So obviously, I've talked about it a lot here ad nauseum, but Jake Bloss is making his major league debut today in about an hour for the Houston Astros as of the recording of this podcast, and he will be facing Grayson Rodriguez, who will be pitching for the Orioles, who is a right-handed pitcher, a 24-year-old young pitcher who has a career WHIP under 1.3. It's 1.29 exactly. And has 206 strikeouts in 192 innings. This guy gets a lot of strikeouts, doesn't have a lot of people on the base pads, and is already touting a 8-2 record this season with a 3.2 ERA. So Bloss definitely has a worthy adversary here today. The Astros will have to work hard to get to some of these Orioles pitchers. And tomorrow, Saturday, for the next game, we have Ronald Blanco coming in for the Houston Astros. Good to see somebody here to help steady the ship. I'm not saying, no matter what happens, the Astros, whether it's a tough game today or whether the winning streak continues, we do want somebody like Ronald Blanco in there to help. He has been the anchor. He's been the stopper this season. Obviously, Hunter Brown has been great this past month, but Ronald has kind of been that guy for us this season, even though he has, missed that start and for that suspension. If it wasn't for that, he kind of would be the leading stat guy when it comes to innings and stuff like that on the team. But Ronald Blanco will be facing Corbin Burns, the veteran for the Baltimore Orioles, who is looking amazing this season. He is 8-2 with a 2.14 ERA and 92 innings pitched with 89 strikeouts and a 1.04 WHIP. So he has been on fire so far this season. He's always been him. So Corbin Burns will be pitching for the Orioles in that game. And for Sunday, the Astros will send up Framber Valdez, our lefty, will be up there pitching, who has had a really up and down season so far. We're hoping that he just keeps solidifying it. The Astros just came back from seeing Martin Maldonado in Chicago, and I do think that, it is kind of like a meme at this point, the Astros playing without Martin Maldonado, for better or for worse, no matter what side of the fence you fall on. That might be a little more divisive than the upcoming election this November. Is Martin Maldonado on, for Astros fans on, and what side you fall on? Are they better with him, or were they better with him, or worse with him, but I do think Framber Valdez does miss Martin Maldonado. I do think that might be the biggest thing, put my tinfoil hat on here. I do think that's the thing that the Astros miss about Martin Maldonado the most, would be how he kind of, got into Framber Valdez all the time, was good at managing him and helping motivate him. During the last Framber Valdez start, you saw Jose Altuve actually get fired up during that game and kind of kind of give Framber Valdez a talking to. So we have been looking for a swag champ this season. So it is kind of good to see Jose Altuve out there putting a little sass on the field. But I do think that Framber kind of misses the emotional steady ship that was his battery partner, Martin Maldonado, and that's why you see Victor Caratini catching Framber a lot. So I do not think Caratini will be available that day, so I do anticipate Yainer Diaz going back to catching Framber Valdez, and Yainer has not caught Framber Valdez since that game where Framber went off script and went rogue and let up all those home runs. I don't think that will happen again. I think that relationship is not like destroyed or anything, but I do think that the Astros were pairing up Valdez with a veteran presence for a reason. Hopefully, Diaz and Valdez will really kind of get on the same page in this game. Not that they haven't been on the same page, but just emotionally, that Diaz will be able to help steady Valdez's emotions in this game and be there for him and be his kind of rock in this game, because he does have a worthy adversary as well, with Albert Suarez being the veteran pitcher that the Orioles will send to the mound on that game. Suarez is 3-1 this season with a 2.05 ERA and a 1.2 WHIP. He has not pitched that many innings yet, but he has been off to a great start. While we're looking at the Astros pitching here, looking at their offense, the Astros being without Caratini, being without Tucker, they are going to have to really stand up against this really amazing Baltimore pitching staff and what is most likely going to be a great Baltimore offense. I think this, kind of 4 and 5 runs that the Astros have been, kind of averaging this season, that might not be enough for some of these games against these Orioles if they are able to tag some of the starting pitching. I do feel good about our bullpen. Hilariously enough, you look at Taylor Scott, you look at Seth Martinez, you're feeling pretty good about that middle relief nowadays. However, the back end of the bullpen has been a little spotty. It has been better lately. With Hader picking up 2 saves in Chicago, like having a good outings, so far this month, but it has been pretty spotty this season. So you are kind of looking at that Baltimore offense and wondering just how much they are going to score, and if the Astros are truly going to be selective with their offense a bit here. Now, the Astros are always going to be free swingers. There's been a lot of talk about the Astros with pitches per plate appearance and stuff like that on Reddit, and with the X-Boys and on the with the sports radio boomers. No matter where you go for your baseball news, there has been a lot of talk about pitches per plate appearance for this team. There doesn't seem like they have been very effective at knocking starting pitchers out of the game, which, if you have been a listener to this podcast, that has been the thing that I've preached. That's kind of my go-to, like my kind of John Maddenism, if you will. It's like, well, if the Astros are able to see a lot of pitches at the plate, they'll be able to knock out the starting pitcher, and they'll be able to get to the bullpen, which normally the bullpen pitching is worse than the starting pitching, so that will be good for the Astros. But that, while that seems a little simplistic, that is what this team needs to do, and this team has the tendency to swing, whether it is Jose Altuve or whether it is Mauricio Dubon, or some of the younger guys, Jake Myers, Chas McCormick, Yainer Diaz. Some of the guys, their eyes get big and they take big swings because they're trying to get big hits. And as the count goes on, they are a little bit more selective. However, I am saying we need a little bit more Alex Bregman, a little bit more John Singleton, a little bit more Yordan Alvarez, kind of sprinkled into the hitting approach for the Astros, where they are okay taking pitches early on if they're kind of on the edges. You don't want to be too selective. The Astros do need to do some damage, but I think the Astros would be better served from a little bit more selectivity during this series, because these pitchers have been spectacular this season, and the Astros will be needing offense. We cannot have another Jonathan Cannon game where the Astros are not able to do any damage against a starting pitcher and to get shut out. That is not what we need going forward. So we're looking to the Astros offense to hopefully be more selective at the plate, to get some longer at-bats. There's going to be some guys that they don't get long at-bats, but some younger batters like Yainer Diaz, we definitely want him, and Jeremy Pena. We want more selectivity from those hitters so that they can kind of go back to where they were earlier in this season, with some more pop, with some more power behind their bat, and more consistent plate approaches. So that's what we're hoping for that offense going forward. And with that being said, folks, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. We are looking forward to a good series, or at least a very competitive series against this Baltimore Orioles team, folks. It has been a lot of mid-tier baseball, mid-tier opponents, I guess I should say, the Astros have been playing. We are seeing a huge challenge against this Baltimore Orioles team, and I'm hoping to see this team rise to the challenge and show us that they are the same Houston Astros we've been following the last 10 years or so, and that they still have a lot of fight in them, and they're able to rise to the challenge of winning some baseball games here in June and get back to 500. So we're very much looking forward to this series, folks. Yep, that means it's time for me to stop talking. Thank you for listening. Please go check out the Substack at spacecadetsports.substack.com, where you can get every podcast and every article and meme that I make emailed directly to you, or pushed directly onto your Substack app, whatever way you want to do it. You can check me out on social media at Paul Salazar JR on all social media platforms. Go see what I'm up to over there. Let me know what you think of the podcast. Or if you're just here for the puppy pictures, you can check out Carla at good.dog.carla for all of her puppy pictures on Instagram. Thanks for listening, folks. Keep your head up, and as always, vamos Astros.